What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. My name is Kyle. Tonight, it's Wednesday evening. We're just chilling. We had a fun waiver wire run go through last night. We got an exciting game tomorrow night. The Bengals hosting the Miami Dolphins, so we're excited about that. I already did go ahead and cover the Week 4 start sit chart. So if you guys want to watch that video, check out the link in the description for all the charts there as well. So we'll use that as a tool. But we're just going to hang out and answer your guys' questions tonight. Let me just fire up what we got going on here. Good evening to Ron. He is asking wide receiver 3 in PPR leagues, Traylon or Romeo Dobbs? I think it's Dobbs, man. I think the Packers are favored to win at home pretty significantly. And he dominated last week against Tampa Bay. He caught all 8 of his targets. He caught the touchdown. He's going to be on the field a lot. I know Christian Watson's probably going to be playing, but I think at this point, I'm really interested in Treylon Burks. We're yet to see him really put it all together. I'm going to lean into Romeo Dobbs. I think there's just a lot of momentum going that way, but I still think Treylon, he'll have his time in the sun soon. So we're going to go with Romeo Dobbs. Also asking, need to start 2 of these running backs, Dillon, Herbert, Edmonds, Penny, or Dobbins. The one that sticks out to me is going to be Khalil Herbert. The New York Giants, not the best against the running back here. If we look at the fantasy points allowed charts, actually, New York Giants, they rank 20th. So they do allow a good amount of points to the running back. Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard lit them up the other night. So I'm very into Khalil Herbert. After that, RB2, Penny's got a great matchup against Detroit. It's so hard to trust Rashad Penny, but he might be the answer. I think I'm okay with letting Chase Edmonds sit on the bench. It does feel hard to trust. I do like that Chase Edmonds finally got, the goal line work. That was very, very good to see. But I have questions on Penny. I have questions on Edmonds. Dobbins, I'm just not really interested in trusting him. I think that's a little bit shaky. But AJ Dillon, he's a home game against the Patriots in a game they're favored to win significantly. I think Dillon might be my guy. I'm going to say Herbert and Dillon. Good evening to Chase. Hope you're doing well, my man. He says he just traded away Mike Evans and Judy for Justin Jefferson. So now his receivers are Diggs, JJ, Judy, Godwin, and Bateman. I'm assuming Judy. So you traded away Mike and Judy. You got JJ. Give up to get the depth to do it. But you got Diggs, JJ, Godwin, and Bateman. I think you're feeling pretty good about that. So I don't mind that trade at all. Good evening to Justin. Hope you're doing well, my man. The Hammy, what's going on, dude? Full PPR, A. Madison, Chase Edmonds, Kareem Hunt. I'm not so sure Madison's going to be trusted this week. It sounds like Dalvin Cook's going to play. I know he didn't practice today, but all the information that I was able to gather, basically, he's got a shoulder injury. It sounds like Cook can play with a harness. He's played with this harness before, and he's not really in a position to further injure it. So there's kind of no risk for Dalvin Cook. So I would expect Dalvin Cook to play. Of course, if he's out, I'm willing to put Alexander Madison in. So I think what you do with this is you ignore Chase Edmonds. If we hear that Dalvin Cook is out, you play Madison. Otherwise, I'm totally cool with Kareem Hunt. I'm not really afraid of the Atlanta Falcons. You can see they do rank 26th in fantasy points allowed. They're kind of good against the running back, but the Browns are a huge running team. So I think Kareem Hunt is probably my answer here. Good evening again. He's asking Garrett Wilson or A-Rob, full PPR. Yeah, full PPR, I think you got to stick with Garrett Wilson. He's shown a lot more than Allen Robinson at the moment. But with Allen Robinson, potentially going up against they play the 49ers this week. San Fran, one of the better teams defending wide receiver. So that does make me a little bit hesitant there. Whereas Pittsburgh, it's strange, but the Steelers are giving up the 26th most fantasy points per game for the wide receiver position. And I know Zach Wilson's back, but I think you got to roll with Garrett Wilson. He's the guy that's getting the looks right now. TJ Hawk or Tyler Conklin. Let's look at their matchups this week. The Detroit Lions, of course, going up against Seattle. Seattle, they rank 21st. They've given up 12 catches, 180 yards, and a touchdown. That's 12 points per game. TJ Hawkinson did kind of come to life last week. I mean, I'm monitoring the health of Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think he's going to play, but of course he's got the ankle injury, so it does make sense to lean on TJ Hawk a little bit. Whereas Conklin, the Jets going up against the Steelers. Last week, we saw the Steelers get lit up by David Njoku. So that is very concerning. You see the Steelers rank 18th here, 15 for 137 and a touchdown. Before Njoku, though, they had been playing really, really well through 2 games. So I like Conklin. I think there's also, I mean, this kind of ties in with Garrett Wilson, too, is there's a huge amount of unknown going on with the Jets. Like, Joe Flacco has 155 passing attempts in just 3 games. So he's throwing the ball more than 50 times per game. I strongly doubt they're going to let Zach Wilson do the same. So I think the volume's coming down for the Jets playmakers here. So I think TJ Hawkinson's the safer call. I still prefer Garrett Wilson to Allen Robinson. I think that's going to be a good play. But I want to kind of just pump the brakes on my Jets guys. I want to see a little bit of things that are going on. I will pull up the injury reports here. Let's just take a second before I get to more questions here. Let me just kind of read the headliners. Julio Jones limited at practice today. Sounds like he's going to play. Chris Godwin back at practice limited. He's got a chance to play. I don't know if he's a must start if he plays. Again, I get really nervous about players coming back from injury and playing them in their first week. I kind of want to, see them first, see what I'm buying before I start them. So a guy like Godwin with a hamstring, who knows how many snaps he were to get. We'll monitor him. But Dalton Schultz is back. He's going to probably play this week. Dak Prescott, potential return week 6. So he's interesting to monitor there. It sounds like Keenan Allen's going to play. Tua, they haven't listed as questionable. I think Tua's going to be fine. I think he's going to play. Jalen Waddle listed as questionable, though. I'm not sure what's going on with that. That did surprise me a little bit here. Let me just hit the DNPs for Wednesday. They have him listed as limited, same as Tua the last 2 days. These guys are probably going to play, but you never know. Cincinnati removed Mixon and Higgins from the injury report. They're both good to go. Jonathan Taylor, toe, ready to roll, it says. I don't think there's any concern there. And then, of course, Gabe Davis limited in Wednesday's practice. The Hammy says, full PPR, Olave, Mike Williams, Dameon Pierce, and Khalil Herbert. If we have to pick just one, it's probably Khalil Herbert. He's the safest play. If we get word that Michael Thomas, if Michael Thomas is out, I think Chris Olave just shoots up the board. He's probably going to be the guy here. But in terms of my rankings here, I'm going to go Herbert, Mike, Olave, Pierce. That's how I would rank those guys in full PPR. Good evening to Aiden. Hope you're doing well, my man. Pierce, Russ Wilson in the house. Oh man, let's ride. Dameon Pierce, Akers, or Singletary. I think you got to go with Devin Singletary. Like, he showed us that he is the back in Buffalo. It's been pretty clear so far through 3 games that he is the man. I like Dameon Pierce a lot. He has a decent matchup going up against the Chargers, who do allow points to the running back. They do rank 25th. They've given up 3 touchdowns on the season, so I think there's room for Dameon Pierce. But I think you take the for sure thing with Devin Singletary. Again, I do like Akers, but he's got a tough matchup, at San Fran. I think I like Singletary here. Yep, Singletary at flex. We'll go with that. And yeah, Russell Wilson sighting, so rare. You guys see the new Subway Russell Wilson stuff? It's interesting. Aiden says PPR, Dylan Wilson, JK, Keanu, or Khalil. I'm assuming that's Keenan Allen. If I can get more clarity there, my man. Otherwise, I mean, I think it's Khalil Herbert. Like, that is the safest play. I think JK, not on our good graces yet. Wilson, I like Wilson, but he's got a tough matchup against the Rams. I like Dylan a lot. I've always liked Dylan. They're 10-point favorites at home against the Patriots. I think good things can happen for him. But I think you got to take advantage of the Khalil Herbert situation in Chicago. That's where I'm going to go. If you have to pick two, again, I don't know who Keanu is. Kenny Walker. Yeah, we're not. It's a good matchup for the Seahawks, but I can't start a guy who only got 3 carries last week. I'm going to say Khalil, I'm going to rank them Khalil, Jeff, Dylan. That's how we'll rank them. Chase says, also, what defense do you recommend this week? I have Chargers, but want to drop them. Rams, Eagles, Colts are on waivers. The Chargers burned us last week, but I'm going to end up going back to them this week, so I'm kind of looking forward to that. But if we look at the waiver wire report real quick, I have a list of defenses down here somewhere. Um, I mean, assuming the Packers are owned, the Pittsburgh Steelers are owned, you don't want the Chargers. I think Philadelphia presents a decent opportunity. They're at home against the Jags. They destroyed Carson Wentz last week. The Eagles have a good defense, but I kind of like the Rams, to be honest. I think the Rams and the Colts are fine. But honestly, I'm kind of fine playing the Chargers. I know they burned a lot of people last week, but just there's so much going on in that game. The turnovers at the beginning of the game, it's just I think it's more of a flash in the pan kind of weekend here. The Texans, one of the worst teams in the league. I personally would play the Chargers over the Rams, Eagles, and Colts. If I have to choose from the other options, I'm going to go with the Rams. Full PPR: Romeo Doubs, Wilson, or Brandon Cooks. That one's tough because like my head is saying to probably go with Brandon Cooks. Like he's the guy that we drafted to be there, right? And like they haven't really played well. Again, I personally I like the Chargers secondary. I think that's a tough matchup for a guy like Brandon Cooks. Garrett Wilson, again, there's questions with Zach Wilson. I actually think Romeo Doubs is probably the guy that I'm going to roll the dice with. Like he's going to be on the field. We know they like to target him. They like to give him carries. I'm going to say Romeo Doubs is my start. Pick 3: Adams, Pittman, T, Sutton. Dang, that's tough. I want to start all of them, my man. What is this? I mean, Adams versus the Broncos. Like you're starting Adams. I mean, and I love T Higgins. I'm gonna say you start T Higgins tomorrow night. You roll with T Higgins, and then after that, I think I'll go Adams and Sutton. Let's see, Patterson or Curtis Samuel at flex. JJ, good evening. I think this is a matter of risk tolerance. We've seen some really good games from CPAT. We've seen some really bad games from CPAT in the past. Curtis Samuel, on the other hand, he's 3 for 3, man. He's having a really nice season so far. I think he's the safe points. They're playing against Dallas. They're going to have to throw the ball quickly. Personally, I think I take the safe double-digit points with Curtis Samuel, hope for the touchdown. I do like CPAT's matchup at home against the Browns, but I think I'm going to go with Curtis Samuel here. Sutton. Where was that question before? Yep, you're good. Not Judy. Yep. Jags gonna win this week. I don't mind the cover. I don't mind the cover for the Jags. Flex 1: Dylan, Bateman, Judy, or Gibby. This one's tough. Gibson going up against the Cowboys. He's been really good against that team in the past. I like the volume for Gibson. He's probably the safest play of your group here. If it's me personally, I'm probably gonna roll with AJ Dillon again. Packers, they're 10-point favorites at home. I think you're gonna see AJ Dillon get his touches and close out the fourth quarter. Bateman presents a lot of risk. We've seen 2 really good games. We've seen 1 kind of bad game. Judy's probably my least favorite player of this group. I'm going to say it's between Gibson or Dillon for me. I'll probably go with Gibson. Yeah, London games are fun. I personally, I love the London games. Just waking up to football, guys. It's fantastic. PPR: Gabe, Bateman, Juju, Lazard. I think I really like Bateman, or I really like Gabe Davis this week. Let me show you the points allowed to the wide receivers. Now I know the Ravens have played Tyreek and Jalen Waddle in that one game, but there's still a lot of points that the Ravens secondary is allowing. And I think Buffalo can take advantage of that secondary. I think Gabe is probably my favorite player from this group, so I'm going to go with Gabe Davis. Aiden says pick 2: Pierce, Gibson, Allen Robinson, Zay Juju, Dortch. Give me Gibson and give me Juju. I'm gonna go Juju. Tampa Bay. Teams have to throw the ball on Tampa Bay. That's the only way they can beat them. So I think Juju's gonna have a good game. Yeah, that one's weird to me. That one, I mean, I would bet the Cardinals to cover. Take the Cardinals to cover that one. And yeah, that one's interesting too. I think the Rams, for the 49ers to be 2.5-point favorites against the Rams, that's a little weird to me. Yeah, very strange. Nobody riding with Russ anymore. How is Ken Dorsey's tablet doing? It's still in the shop. Good evening to Ryan. Hope you're doing well, my man. Have the #1 fantasy offense. Jags are. It's refreshing to see. I think everyone wants Trevor Lawrence to be good. I think he's QB 10 on the season, so it's just really nice to see things just drastically different from where they were at last year. Doug Peterson bringing just some consistency and stability to that franchise. I think a lot of people are going to be liking the Jags this season. Jerry, good evening to you, my man. How are you feeling about Tua or Derek Carr? That's a good question. I got a lot of Tua questions on my TikTok the last couple days. I like Tua. I'm still not sure if he's a great quarterback. I think he's a good quarterback. I think obviously having Tyreek and Jalen Waddle boosts his floor significantly. It makes him a better player throwing to great players. So I like Tua. I think it is a tougher matchup this week. I mean, a short week traveling to Cincinnati. Of course, there's a hurricane going on back home in Miami there for him, so that could be on their mind. He's also dealing with a back injury. I think there's a lot of question marks with Tua. Whereas Denver, they're going to be playing against the Raiders. Denver's defense, they rank seventh best against the QB, and the Bengals rank third best. So you're looking at two bottom 10 matchups here. I think I'm probably going to roll with Tua just because I think I'm more excited about the Tyreek and Jalen Waddle prospects. There's also, the Bengals are going to put up points. They're going to be a lot more points in there. Whereas the Broncos Raiders game, I don't know how many points you're going to be having that game. Both offenses are struggling. So I think it's Tua. As long as he gets cleared to play, I'll roll with Tua. Full flex PPR. Yep, Cooks or Dameon Pierce. Yeah, man. So this one's tough. Let's look at the points allowed to wide receivers here. The Houston Texans going up against the Chargers. The Chargers did allow a ton of points last week to the Jags guys. So you see 45 for 507 and 5 touchdowns. Pretty much all of that came last weekend against the Jags. So maybe Brandon Cooks is the sneaky play here. I think of all the guys here, I think I trust him the most in my lineup. Elijah Moore, I love the player. But he's getting outplayed right now by Garrett Wilson. You also have the downgrade, I think, to Zach Wilson for at least a week or so. And then Dameon Pierce, man, the numbers are probably suggesting that Dameon Pierce might be the guy. The Chargers allow a lot of points on the ground, but I think the narrative. I think the narrative is the Chargers probably score points in that game, and they might have to abandon the run. So I think it's Brandon Cooks. That's probably the guy I'm going to start with. Aiden says he's 0-3 in the Fellowship League. Matt Collins is fine. You can start Matt Collins if you want, but it doesn't feel good. He needs Hunter Renfrow out to be useful, and I think Renfrow didn't practice today. But Mac's a good player. I don't think he's going to continue this, especially games where Devontae didn't play well, Darren Waller didn't play well. He's still kind of like the fourth or fifth target to me in that offense. But fire up your guys' questions if you guys have any more. Otherwise, I'm just going to start kind of reading some of the player news here. Let me hit refresh on the thing, NBC Sports Edge. We already covered some of these guys. I think Julio's playing. I think Russell Gage is playing. 50-50 on Godwin. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, he's probably in a 10-man league. I don't think you need to be carrying him. I think Dalton Schultz is going to be playing. DJ Chark, interesting. Both Amon-Ra and Craig Reynolds missed the Lions practice today, so we have to monitor the Lions practice. If Amon-Ra can't go, you're going to boost TJ Hawkinson. You're going to boost DJ Chark. You're going to want to consider those guys. Dameon Pierce limited on Wednesday, so I'm not sure what's going on here, if that's just maybe a slight bumps and bruises or whatever, but we'll see what happens tomorrow. Kyle Phillips returned to practice today. J.K. Dobbins limited, which is weird because he was practicing in full the last 2 weeks. So maybe this is just being cautious with him. I do not think you should be starting him, especially against Buffalo. It's not the recipe for it. But I'm open to him, being a useful soon. Devonta Smith limited. I love starting Devonta Smith at the moment. Aiden says PPR, Madison or ET. I think Dalvin Cook's going to play. So if Cook plays, you're not going to use Madison. If Cook is out, you're going to use Madison. I think that's as simple as I can make it. But it sounds like Cook is going to try and play through it. Miles Sanders limited. Darius Slay did not practice. Alan Lazard limited today. AJ Dillon limited. I'm not sure what that's about, but they did say he was getting reps. He was just limited in practice today. Xavier Howard questionable for tomorrow night. Just take a second to we get Joe Burrow versus Tua tomorrow night. I'm super pumped about this matchup. I just want to double check and see. Miami has already ruled out their 2 tight ends. They have a couple DNPs up here. We'll see if Teron Armstead can go, but otherwise, just a few people here that we're watching for: Xavier Howard, Brandon Jones on the defensive side of the ball. And then, of course, Cedric Wilson, Waddle, Tua, all limited so far this week. If I look at the Bengals real quick, only 2 guys not practicing today, both already ruled out: DJ Reader and Drew Sample. So Bengals looking pretty good. Everybody practiced in full today, besides DJ Reader and Drew Sample. So very good news there. Elijah Moore, Darnell Mooney. Oh my goodness, this is painful. I'll go with Elijah Moore. Just because the Bears are throwing the ball like 12 times a game right now. It's pathetic. You got to go with Elijah Moore there based on volume alone. Let me see what other news I can dig up. Good to see T. Higgins removed. Good to see Joe Mixon removed from the injury report. We'll see if La'el Collins can go tomorrow night, but I think he did practice in full. Dawson Knox, I don't think we're starting Dawson Knox until further notice. If you guys are in 10-man leagues, he might not even be rosterable. In 12-man leagues, he's just an end-of-the-bench guy that we just can't start for now. Let's see what else we can find. I feel pretty strongly that we're not going to see David Montgomery this week, especially with Khalil Herbert looking like a boss. Like if he's out there in your waiver wire, please go pick up Khalil Herbert. I think he's in for a big day against the Giants. Any news on Swift? The good news with Swift is he's not on IR. So they're going to kind of go through this song and dance here where they're going to be like, oh, he's not practicing today. He's still not ruled out or anything. But essentially, all of the people that I've followed and doctors and stuff that I look at, they're basically saying Swift's not going to play until week 7. So they play week 4 this week, a good matchup against Seattle. But again, he's not practicing. I would not expect him to play this week. They also play week 5. And then they have a bye week 6. I think best case scenario for Swift is he's ready to return after the bye week 7. Otherwise, it's Jamal Williams for the next 2 weeks or so. And if you have Jamal Williams and you don't need him in your starting lineup, like someone's gonna want him. You could try and potentially sell high on Jamal Williams, even though I think he's a good start for the next 2 games. But keep in mind, it's just a 2-week rental. So no news on Swift. He's just not practicing at the moment here. I just want to let's pull up. I just want to see who the top ads, the waiver wire ads were. But fire up any final questions. I'm gonna probably get out of here in a few minutes. We will be going live tomorrow evening. I'm going to go live basically 6:30 p.m. Central Time, about 45 minutes before kickoff. If you guys want to come hang out. I just want to review the standings for the league, the free fellowship league real quick. We got two 3-0s. We got Justin 3-0, Team Cornelison 3-0. We have 3 0-3 teams. We got my boy Matt Bain. We got Aiden down here. I'm sitting at 2-1. We have our returning champ sitting at 2-1. I will pull up the scoreboard from last week. I just want to filter by fantasy points real quick. Looks like Andrew Bauer, my brother, leading the league in points. Fantasy Goods here, 441. They're second in points. I'm third in points. Matt Bain with only 281. He's had some rough goes. I want to look at this team. A 67-point performance last week. That is not great. Let me just finish up with looking at the week 3 scoreboard here. I took down Ketchup and Mostert. Pretty nice. I think I had the highest. No, I did not have the highest score of the week, but 142 was a pretty nice score. Justin just destroys Matt Bain here, 129-67. The returning champ, Porsche 23, takes out champion in the making by 0.5. By 0.5 points. We got a barn burner there. Mollers over Marietta. Cornelison over Tobin. And we got Fantasy Goods just stomping my brother here, 171. They got Lamar, Njoku, and Barkley to lead the way. So we'll see. The one thing that I like looking at too is I love this part of ESPN right now. It looks like our number one team is Team Bauer. That's my brother. Fantasy Good number two, and I am number three. So there's our power rankings. Good evening to Twan Roberts here. Should I accept Russ, Michael Carter, Dobbs for Kyler? My only other backs are Fournette, Jacobs, and Mostert. So he needs backs. I think the problem is I don't think Michael Carter is going to be as useful anymore here. I'm going to pull up something real quick to show you. I think the team loses some of the muster playing with Flacco. That does concern me a little bit. Like Flacco was going to throw the ball a lot and dump it off to the running back. Let's click into there's this awesome PFF article. I can even post it in the link if you guys want. But I'm looking for the snaps, the routes, and all the information from the Jets game last week. Let's pull it up. So here you go. Here's your New York Jets, all of your flex players. You can see snaps, routes, targets, and carries. Breece Hall finally outsnapped Michael Carter by 6. He ran more routes by 10. He had 9 more targets. Michael Carter still didn't get carries, but the roles have kind of flipped here. I personally do not trust Michael Carter anymore, especially one. I mean, those backs have been tied to Joe Flacco for 2 weeks or for 3 weeks, and they've just been racking up carries and targets, especially targets. So to me, I don't really value Michael Carter much here. I think downgrading to Russ is okay. I mean, I think I prefer Kyler Murray here, but if you want to take this, I'm cool with it. I do think there's a chance the Broncos kind of heat up, and I mean, if we're being real, Kyler Murray has not really been on fire either. He does get DeAndre Hopkins back soon, so that could be kind of nice. I have to sneeze. Excuse me. But I'm concerned about Kyler Murray. I'm curious in the comments what you guys would do with this trade. Technically, Kyler Murray, QB 10, Russ Wilson, roughly. Where is Russ? Where is Russell Wilson? About QB 21. I mean, you're losing roughly 4 to 5 points per game. If you like Michael Carter, I'm cool with it. I do like Romeo Dobbs, but I don't know if this is a significant win for you. You're gaining Carter and Dobbs, but I don't think Carter starts necessarily for you, and maybe Romeo Dobbs. So I think it's kind of a 50-50. Like it doesn't make your team that much better in my opinion. And yeah, Zay was your highest scorer. Zay Jones is the real deal, my man. But anyways, we're going almost up to a half an hour here. I'm gonna get out of here for the evening. If you guys do have more questions, please let them fire away in the comment section or in the chat section. Again, tomorrow night we'll be going live. We'll hang out with you guys then. We'll monitor all the practice reports that we got. Check out the start sit video. It'll be at the end of this video once I get it up there. But anyways, have a good evening. Tomorrow, Thursday Night Football. We'll be there. So have a good night. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.